So, if you were tuning into the Milan news, a lot of the reports were saying that Fonseca would bench Leao and Teo for this match. And to be honest, I wasn't believing it. I didn't think it was true. I just thought it was a bunch of made up news to kind of get the fans against Fonseca. And personally, maybe you could probably bench Teo due to his poor performances in the previous game, but Liao is our game changer, our creator, and someone who can dig us out of a hole when we're in trouble. And to my surprise, Fonseca benched them both in the first big game of the season, you could say. It was kind of a risk because Lazio is a big team. We're going away and we need our weapons. But he benched them and, he, I guess, stuck to his guns. And for the people that are saying that we're in the banter era, those fans were never in the Banter era. And it's crazy to say that, especially after two games, because in the Banter era, we were horrendous, right? Guys, in the Banter era, we were getting sixth, seventh, eighth. We got 10th one point in 2015. So to say that this Milan team is in the Banter era, you don't know what the Banter era is. This jersey over here, that Balotelli jersey, that was the start of the Banter era. That was the last game we played in the Champions League. That Balotelli jersey was the last jersey you saw an AC Milan team play in the Champions League for the next 10 years. So to say that this Milan team is in the Banter era is absolutely ridiculous to say. In terms of play, there were no styles of play. I feel like we looked identical to how Roma played under Fonseca, and we know how that turned out. However, I'm still willing to give Fonseca time. I feel like after three games, you cannot evaluate anything. I feel like you can start to make these certain evaluations and these decisions probably around Christmas time, probably the halfway point in the season. However, right now, three games in, first couple games under Fonseca, these players kind of need to know their movements, and you can still kind of tell that these players don't really know where to be or the spaces that they need to run into, and it's very clear. But I feel like this Lazio game was a lot more positive than the previous two games. I like Okafor in this game. I thought he could do everything that he possibly could to kind of do something. Also, I liked Pulisic as well to kind of create. He got the assist for the Pavlovic goal, which leads me to the Serbian beast Pavlovic, man. He took his goal well, nice little header, and he's just everything that we wanted in a center back. Everything that we wanted Tiao to be is exactly what Pavlovic is. And I couldn't be happier with the output that Pavlovic has brought to this side. A much more, I guess, stronger defense. Granted, we conceded two goals, but we'll get onto that later. But he just kind of gives that aura, I guess you could say. I hate using that word just because it's so overly used, but he kind of gives that aura in that defensive line of, a strong center back that's really hard to get past. So I couldn't be happier with Pavlovic's output in these last couple games, and I'm super happy that he scored a goal. So avanti così, Pavlovic. Emerson, however, I am not happy with his output. And on these both Lazio goals that they scored, you can argue that he was at fault for not covering his side or quite literally running alongside his man, not even making a tackle or challenging for the ball. And once again, it's this right hand side that's at fault. And now that goes 6 goals in 3 games we've conceded. And it's on that right hand side. And we need a serious look at this defensive right hand side because once we start playing in the Champions League, Vinicius is going to have a fantastic time going 1v1 with Emerson. And if this isn't, addressed, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble coming these next couple games. However, I think what I saw from Tereciano from this game was sufficient enough to warrant him a shot on that right hand side. And he wasn't terrible on the left, but I think that he could do a lot better than Emerson. If not, we're going to have that same situation where we had at that right wing slot with Salamakers and Macias, how we just kept switching both of them, almost every game. And I feel like we're kind of leaning towards that same trend where one game we're going to play Calabria, one game we're going to play Emerson. Oh, the next game we're going to play Calabria because Calabria was shit. But now, oh, Emerson is shit, so just put in Calabria. So I really don't want it to have to come to that situation because the more solidified we can make this defense in a starting, you already know what the defense is going to be. I feel like that is the most important thing. So if we keep kind of swapping these guys back and forth every game, the cohesion and the chemistry in the defense is not going to be good. So I feel like we need to address this situation now before it gets any worse. And one thing is also for certain that Loftus Cheek, we also saw him play in this match. He cannot be so far forward. And in this team, we saw that at times he did carry the ball from deeper positions and he had some success and he was fouled in the buildup. But there are those glimpses of good moments from Loftus Cheek. But he just has to play a little bit deeper in that position because I think that that's how you're going to get the best out of Loftus Cheek. Last episode, I brought up how great he was in that PSG game, and that was probably the best Loftus Cheek we saw off all season last year. Now, we kind of saw similar glimpses of Loftus Cheek carrying the ball from deep, and he can make those last attempt passes to the wingers, to whether it's Leao or Chukwueze or Pulisic. He can make those last, ditch passes to kind of get the ball off after, creating that space and kind of starting the counterattack, I guess you can say. Loftus Cheek just has to play a little bit deeper, in my opinion, to kind of get the best out of him. My biggest pet peeve in this match was that we were passing back so much, and it's because we couldn't make any good runs or run into the space that's open, and this is what Leao and Teo give you. And going into that, Teo and Leao came on after being benched for 60 minutes, and in 1 minute, they combined with Tammy Abraham, who got the assist for the Leao goal, and Fonseca probably felt like an absolute dumbass that he benched Leao because that quality, those first time passes and the vision that Leao gives you, nobody on this team can give you exactly that. So Rafa, I tip my hat to you, my friend. You had all those haters in this last game saying, all those nasty things, and you had the perfect response. And even though you had a assist last game, you just silenced the haters. You got a nice goal. You saved us the 1 point. So, Rafa, I tip my hat to you, my friend. So, let's go to tops and flops. Top, hands down, it's Pavlo. Pavlo, he took his goal well. In his second appearance for Milan, got a goal. And I feel like just overall defensively, I feel like he was just super consistent in that aspect. So, for me, Pavlovic was the top. And flop, hands down, Emerson. Arguably, you can say that he was responsible for both of the goals that we conceded. And for the most part, like I said, this situation has to be addressed because whether it's Calabria, Emerson, or Terracciano, this has to be sorted. So for me, Emerson flop. So let's preview our next game in the Serie A. I know we do have a international break, but when you look at our next game in the Serie A, we play Venezia at home, so which is really nice. We're in the San Siro again for this one after the international break. And once again, Venezia, one of those newly promoted sides. I know we played Parma and they gave us a lot of trouble. So with these sorts of games, you can't really, predict, anything because it's like a wild card with these Serie B teams that come up to Serie A. But I think that this is going to be our first win of the season. I feel like I said in the last episode that we'd get a draw versus Lazio, a 1-1, but that's just because I wasn't 100% convinced on how Milan was playing. But now after seeing this Lazio game, I feel like Leao can kind of get something going, and I feel like Teo as well is going to step up, and I feel like a lot of our big players, Pulisic, Leao, Teo, you can argue, and I feel like this is going to be a hot take. I think Tammy is going to start in this game. I feel like Tammy really did well. And I mean, I know he came on in 30 minutes, right? And only had a couple minutes to play, but I feel like he really combined well with that Teo, Leao, and obviously Tammy as well. And he got the assist for the Leao goal. So I feel like his one-touch passing and his passing, with his back to goal is something that this Milan team needs to succeed going forward. So I think Tammy is going to get this start in this next Venezia game. And I think that Milan is going to get the win. I don't know the score. I'm going to just throw out. I think we're going to win big. I think it's going to be a 3-0. I think it's going to be a statement win. And we're also at home. So I think, with the fans backing us the whole time, I think this Milan team is going to succeed. And we're going to get our first win of the season. So that is my prediction for the Venezia game. Now, let's talk Champions League. So in the Champions League this season, it's going to be a new format, as a lot of us know, where instead of a group stage, we're going to be playing 6 individual games. And if you get first place through 8th place, then you automatically go through to the round of 16. And if you get ninth place through 24th, then you go through to a playoff game versus any team that you get drawn into. I'm going to guess it's a 2-leg game. So depending if you win that, then you go through to the round of 16. And from there, the knockout rounds are the exact same. So if you don't know, these are who Milan's opponents are. So we play Liverpool at home in the first game of the Champions League season. Then we play Leverkusen away, Club Brugge at home, Real Madrid away, which is going to be a crazy game, Slovan Bratislava away from home, and then we play Red Star Belgrade in the last game at home. So I think, honestly, if you're telling me, I think this is a favorable draw for Milan. Obviously, we expect wins from Club Brugge, Slovan Bratislava, and Red Star Belgrade. However, against Real Madrid, Liverpool, those are probably going to be very tough games. I mean, Liverpool at home, we saw what they did against us in the Champions League when we first got back, and they absolutely creamed us. So that's going to be a very tough game, especially because this Liverpool side is fantastic. They just brought in Chiesa, and obviously, their main protagonists, Van Dijk, Salah, and a couple others, Luis Diaz as well. And obviously against Real Madrid, that is just Champions League heritage right there, right? Just I look at that fixture and I just get excited because that's just when all the stars are on the pitch, right? Obviously, Real Madrid have, top to bottom, star studs, Vinny, Mbappe, Rodrigo, I could go on, but then it's like now that is the moment where our stars as well have to, really make a statement, right? Leao at the big stage, Teo going up against his former club in a competitive match as well. So I feel like that's going to be a big game for us. And then I think the one that could really go either way is versus Leverkusen, right? It is away, which is going to be tough, but Bayer Leverkusen, they did lose, so they're no longer Bayer Leverkusen. So it's going to be a tough game, but regardless of the fact, that is probably going to be the game that kind of tips the scale for us whether we get that top 8 or not to automatically go through to the knockout rounds. So it's going to be very interesting, but I think Milan's chances going forward into this Champions League competition are good. So I think that if Milan isn't finishing in the top 8, I feel like that's a big issue. So I feel like going forward, I think our chances are good. I think that'll do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on all of our socials at Instagram, Twitter, Bunches, and TikTok, all at Home of Milan. I've been Vincenzo, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao, ragazzi.